Welcome back to Creative Live. If you are just joining us, we are in segment 2 of 4 of day 2 of recording rock vocals with Andrew Wade. Susan, are you excited as I am?
Yes, Tony, I am. All right, cool. Well, I think you can just take it away. I know we have a lot to cover.
Oh yeah, we got a lot to cover. Okay, there's 2 more things in Melodyne I want to cover really quick. So it's like we're going back in time. All right, there's whenever I was talking yesterday about, these are just 2 shortcuts. So I won't spend a lot of time on it, but it's really good to know about these. Where are we here? Okay, so whenever I'm doing my, I'm gonna just move all this stuff around. Whenever I'm doing choruses and stuff, I like to have an octave below the main vocal, so kind of thicken up the main vocal and make it just sound bigger. So in Melodyne, there's a kind of a quick way to make sure that those line up. What I'm doing is I'm just loading this into Melodyne really quick so I can demonstrate the technique. Okay, cool. Wait. Oh, Melodyne wasn't open. Okay, sorry. We have so much to cover. I'm just trying to kind of get through here.
Andrew, in the meantime, a question from the chat room. Luis Gallejo, I probably ruined that name. I'm sorry, Luis. Can you ask Andrew, the compressor that appears on all of your vocals in your Pro Tools session, are those for the final results or just to have control while you're editing?
I'm going to get into that in the last section of today, which is mixing. We're going to talk about all the compressors that I do use for tracking and for mixing and why, stuff like that.
Perfect.
But, yeah, I'll get into that. Almost done here. Okay. All right. Just basically want to demonstrate this technique. So you have, whenever you're in Melodyne and you have an octave, it's going to look like this. And the best sound to me is when they really lock in together and they sound unified. So what I do in Melodyne is I'll literally move the reference pitch up to the other one. And if you actually go to, let's say we want to edit the female vocal to the lower vocal, which is mine, that's in there. Let me actually play this. Take it slow. So you hear we have different timing there. So what I would do is move mine up as a reference. I know it sounds funny. Move mine up as a reference, but we're not going to listen to it because what we're going to do is over here, there's a little guy where you just hit play selected and you can you only hear what you have selected. So if I click on mine, take it slow. Sounds funny, but it's not for how it sounds. It's for the reference. So I like the timing of the original vocal here that I did. So I can just take hers. Where is this stuff? It's a lot. It's quite different. I'm just going quick. It would probably never be this extreme because you would, in the studio, you would be a little meticulous during tracking, but I just wanted to show you this. So we have take it slow. That breath is weird, whatever. This is a super extreme case, but anyway, that's just a technique that I use a lot to keep the workflow going and do things quicker. So I would just move that up an octave just so you can, you have your reference right there in front of you. Anyway, okay, and then the second thing in Melodyne that I want to talk about is something that we talked about during the break, which is making harmonies with Melodyne. I'm not a fan of actually doing this technique. I like to do real harmonies. Usually myself, I'll do the harmonies for the band, like if they can't figure it out or if they're having a hard time. Because if you know the right ways to blend your voice with the lead singer, you can really make it mesh well, and nothing's going to stand out. You're just going to enhance the sound of it. So really quick, just so we reset everything, we're going to transfer these 2 tracks back. Now, I don't know why those are both so different. Hold on. Looks like one got moved. Okay. All right, sorry about that. Mistakes happen. Okay, so while that's loading in, I just want to say, if you are going to do these fake vocals, the best way is not to just make a duplicate of the original vocal, but to actually sing the vocal again. So you have different nuances and it's actually a different vocal take. Because whenever you use the original vocal, it's gonna make it sound like a weird demon or like a weird 80s effect. Maybe you want that, but whenever you want things to sound natural, this is not the best, or that is not the best choice. So we have 2 actual different takes. And all you would do is, we want to hear both of them. So,
take it slow.
You want to make sure all these notes are in the right spot.
'Cause you miss the years as they go by. Take it slow. 'Cause you miss the years as they go by.
If you are going to do that, and that's going to be your final result, you're going to want to sing it again so it is a different take. So you're not having your beautiful female vocal sound like an alien or a demon is singing a country song. But if you are just maybe writing a harmony and you want to experiment, maybe you can't think of, what is the harmony for this part, bring it into Melodyne, move it around, figure it out. Sometimes, you just can't immediately think of what the harmony is. And sometimes you'll do things that you never would have thought of. Even if you did have a harmony, maybe you'll figure out a better one without even, by accident sometimes. So it's just a cool tool. All right. Melodyne, for that particular thing is done. I want to talk about Vocaline because that's the next on our checklist of things after we Melodyne and correct timing within Melodyne as we go. Then we'll send it back to Pro Tools, as you guys recall, and then we Vocaline. So let me just demonstrate Vocaline. How many of you guys know about Vocaline or know what Vocaline is? Okay, cool. All right. It is an invaluable tool for vocals. If you are not going to buy anything else, buy Melodyne and Vocaline.
So these are both plugins to Pro Tools. They wouldn't be a part of your DAW or your digital audio workstation.
No, they don't. They don't come with Pro Tools. So these are all things that should work with, any DAW.
Great.
Okay, so Vocaline is when you're doing a bunch of vocals and you want them to sync together and sound like one vocal. So, that's all it is, but that will save you so much time. You do that a little bit in Melodyne, but sometimes there's those tiny little differences that you hear and they stick out in the mix, and you can either spend all day trying to figure it out and put it on, or you can get this, click through it, and be complete. So this is...
Take it slow, 'cause you miss the years as they go by.
So this is going to be a great example, as I know from experience. This is where all your breaths and your edits that were the same come in handy to the rescue to save time. Because if you have breaths in one take and you don't have breaths in the other take, VocalLine is going to read those breaths and maybe match a word to the breath instead of matching the breaths to the breaths. So if you are having a hard time with VocalLine, that could be something. So all you do, we have 2 vocals here. I mean, this to work with right now, but this will be pretty obvious. So let's listen to that. Let's listen to that one more time.
Take it slow, 'cause you miss the years as they go by.
It's almost like there's a delay on one, it sounds like. So all you do, if you're going to use VocalLine, you click on Guide up here, and then select the vocal that you want to use as the guide, the correct vocal, and then you hit Dub for the one that is not correct, and you hit Capture again, and then you hit Spot.
So Andrew, is that essentially a kind of like a master-slave relationship? Like which one you want it to be, changed to?
Right. The first one is like the master, and the second
Okay.
one is the slave. So I like to, oops, what? This is different than PC. Okay, so I like to switch back and forth. You can see what the change is here. I can make this bigger easily. So you can see what moved here. So after I do it, I always just do a undo, redo really quick, just so I can see that nothing changed dramatically. If something's like shifting way over, it's probably wrong. So I just like to do that as a quick reference to make sure that everything is fine. Now, in my expert opinion, this turned out fine. So let's listen to it, see if I was right.
Take it slow, 'cause you miss the years as they go by.
So instead of spending all day trying to figure out those tiny little things and how to fix them, yeah, that is the shortcut of all shortcuts there.
Seems like you can really tell a lot of that difference in the consonants and where those pieces don't line up.
Yeah,
I mean, you can
the
hear
beginning
it.
of words, yeah, anything
Yeah.
like hard words, T's and P's and all that stuff. Those are, I mean, now because I use this so much, if I hear someone that doesn't use it, it bothers me so bad. And sometimes you want, so we have like a super doubled sound right now. Sometimes you want a little bit of that, and you want it to sound natural, so you don't want to like throw chorus on it, because chorus kind of sounds, like chorus, and it's usually pretty obvious. So that's why I like to do real doubles. So what I would do is I would go through all these steps, and when you do these corrections in Melodyne, it gets you closer, but it's not perfect. And that's why this was so easy to do, because we got it really close. And then this just locked it in together. So what I would do is, normally, let's pretend that we didn't VocalLine it. And you turn it down, you'll still tell that there's another vocal, and you'll also hear that it's off beat of the other vocal. So it stands out pretty bad. So let's actually demonstrate that. So I'll turn this down.
Take it slow, 'cause you miss the years as they go by.
I mean, that's 8 decibels quieter, and you can clearly hear all those problems. But as soon as you VocalLine it and have it together, it really blends in and almost creates a different type of effect because it's so locked together.
Take it slow, 'cause you miss the years as they go by.
So when you hear that, you think, well, is that 2 vocals? It's so tight, and it's like, I think I hear another vocal. Is that just an effect, or what is that? So anytime I do an album, this is how I do it. So this completes all the steps to finishing editing a vocal, of singing. We didn't actually, I wish this was in the segment before, but this is where it's finished, editing-wise. And I would go through and do this to all the vocals. We have some extreme, this just looks like it's moved over.
We weren't meant to be. We weren't meant to be alone.
Let's see. Just a little tip with vocal line. It works better when you kind of do sections like this. So you could roll the dice. You could try to do the whole phrase at once. But when there's empty spaces like this, vocal line kind of gets weird and things shift over like a dramatic amount. So I like to just go one section at a time. So let's capture this and capture that and vocal line.
We weren't meant to be. We weren't meant to be alone.
So if you do melodyne it and you maybe hear a pitch change faster than the other one and you want to fix that, I would probably bring that into melodyne if it's like a really big problem. But that's not a really common case, but that may happen to you, and that is the solution. That is the best solution. Yes?
Question from Niels Bohr. Are there any options for pitch and timing corrections if you don't have melodyne, or like a cheaper?
There are tons, but melodyne is the absolute best.
Okay, so you don't want to recommend any cheaper plugins?
I mean, there's cheaper versions of melodyne.
Oh.
I think they even have one that's like $99. It's just...
You can get free demos.
Yeah, you could get free demos and stuff.
So there's options out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But melodyne absolutely, hands down, sounds the best, and the workflow is very, very easy.
Thanks.
Other ones, I've tried other ones, and they kind of get the job done. But like, if you're looking for the best, and that's what this class is for, that's what you're gonna get. So, anyway, this first verse, I actually would just want this one vocal, so there's probably not a reason to go through and melodyne all these here. Anyway, so that's actually the end of, let me just go through the slides, make sure I didn't skip anything. Vocal line, what is it? We talked about that. Obviously, when to use it when you have several vocals. Let's see. Oh yeah, vocal line is not good to stretch words. Don't rely on this to stretch words. The method that I showed you with melodyne is the best thing to use, not vocal line.
Andrew, there's one more question appropriate question from the internet here. Alex S. is wondering if vocal line will work just as well on screaming vocals as it will on...
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and we'll get into that actually.
Perfect.
Now, I have a tip here, compile a template vocal, and I'll show you how to do that. Actually, I think I'm going to use the next session to show you how to do that technique. So, all right, yeah, let's go into the other session. Oops. All right. This section is still singing, but this is a really advanced thing in melodyne. Whenever you get into, like, if you do raspy vocals. Where are we here? Okay, so this here is the final result after editing, and then I'll show you what we're going to work with. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about raspy vocals. These are super, super raspy. All right, so we're gonna get rid of these. I have come undone! So these are the unedited vocals here. And we're actually gonna do, we talked about crossfades. We're gonna do this, I'll just do this quickly so we can move on to melodyning. You guys know all this, huh? All right, so we're just gonna use those crossfades for now, just for time's sake. Now, obviously, there are 6 tracks of this. We are not going to do them all because this is really difficult and time-consuming. But we'll put them in Melodyne. Oh, here we go. Yep. All right, so load up Melodyne. Make a new session in Pro Tools or whatever you're using, connect the tracks. You know what? I'm just gonna load those 3. There's no reason for these.
So based on that last song that you just monitored for us, NEVH5150 is asking, is that mastered? Because it sounded awesome.
Yeah, that it's not mastered. Mastering is, they might mean mixed, but that did have a lot of like the stuff on it that I think sounds good, and I'll show you what I did and how to do that. But I'm glad they thought that sounded good.
Yeah, so that was basically everything that was done there was you. It wasn't a final, like sent out, brought back in, and you're referencing it again. This is all just like tracks straight, and then you mixed it.
Yep. All right, so here's what we got. Just gonna load this into Melodyne. I have come undone, desperate and out of control. When I should run, words to reassemble. I have come undone, this illness is my control. As to anyone, my words are reassembled. So, as you can tell, that sounds a lot different. All right, so this is, for anybody that does this style of music, this is like running through mud. I'm just gonna say that right now. This is really difficult, but there are some tricks and shortcuts to fixing this kind of stuff. So as you can see, I loaded it up into Melodyne, and Melodyne doesn't even think this is a melody, and I am offended. It's just putting it on one track. So, well, now what do? I'll show you exactly what to do. First, we load it into Melodyne, and then the show play algorithm parameters is also Option Command L. Okay, so what that does is it shows you the mode. Melodyne's like, I'm pretty sure this is percussive, like drums or something like that. But you say, no, it's not, it's melodic. And that's what I just, the dialogue that I just brought up, which is these. So it's not there by default, so you need to know to bring that up. Otherwise, things are gonna get real weird. All right, so we also wanna go to definition, reset detection to melodic mode. So, oh, hey, look, there are some notes in there. Look at that. Thank you, Melodyne. Let's see what our other tracks look like. You got to do this for all your tracks. All right. Or I guess you could, just going to definition, reset detection to melodic mode does the exact same thing without bringing this up. But I do like this dialogue here because it has other things in it that I will also be demonstrating later. All right, so let's take these other ones out of here. So we're just working with one. I have come undone! Okay, so we see that some of these notes aren't even registering. And this is where skill kind of comes in because you have to sort of know about pitch and fine tuning. So, okay, we got all that. View, show pitch notation. Make sure this guy is clicked in. View, show pitch notation on selected track, otherwise it won't separate all that stuff.
By the way, the artist known as Jeremy McKinnon is actually in our chat rooms confirming that yes, these vocals are him in the background. So that's nice to know he's watching over us.
These vocals are actually me.
Oh, I messed up. I was probably a little bit late, but he was in there, I'm sure.
Oh, these chorus vocals are me, and his vocals are on the verse of this song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, all good, all good.
But cool that Jeremy's watching, and also very cool that those are your vocals.
Yeah, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It took me, just in case anybody does want to try to sing like this, this was so difficult for me that I had to sing one take and then wait a week and then sing another take and like wait a week and sing the last one and wait. Yeah, maybe not a week, like a few days, but.
But you don't normally sing. You don't sing like this on a regular basis.
No. So a lot of work went into this stuff, and that's what it takes. And whenever you are scheduling, and if you are doing something like this, and your vocalist isn't used to this, that's the kind of thing that you do. It's like you want this sound. There's a way to get it, but you have to know and you have to plan, and that's what we talked about yesterday. So
how many weeks did it take you to do this total?
I mean, this was probably 2 weeks or something like that. So it was just. I had to do one take and wait a few days because my voice would be completely messed up. Maybe there's a right way to do this, but it's unknown to me. I just kind of sing really hard and loud. That's what comes out. Okay. So our little shortcut that we know about yesterday was Command-Shift-D. That is detection correction mode. Now, sometimes all you got to do is jiggle the note, and Melodyne's like, oh, there's the note. It's supposed to be right there. So you just kind of jiggle it a little bit, and sometimes it gets it, sometimes it doesn't. Oops. And this might be where most people give up, because these notes are kind of coming a little bit easy for us. Let's say, oh, that one just wants to run away. Well, okay. If you're lucky, this is what happens, and it just gets it. Man, this one might be a pain. Okay, so we can see that the beginning of this note is appearing, but then the rest is just not there. It's my cry! So in that mode, there's another pitch detection mode, and it's, I don't even know what it means. I don't know if that means emphasis or whatever, but it's almost like a more forceful command to Melodyne. Say, hey, this note is right here. Please listen to me. I don't know how else to describe it, but that's kind of like what it does. So at first it's like, hey, Melodyne, wake up. This note isn't, this is a note, but you need to detect. It's like, oh, okay, well, here's the note. And then it's like, is this right? And then you're like, no, it's like right here. So then you turn that on and it appears. However, it's not always right. So this is where you kind of have to use your ears. But in order for Melodyne to work with the note, it has to be right. It has to be in the right spot. So if this note is sharp, which it looks like Melodyne is detecting that it is sharp, then it's kind of in the right spot. But if it's flat, for instance, it should be like, down here, and it's having a hard time correcting it to there. But this is where your ear kind of comes in. And if you don't get these correct, then it's going to be almost impossible to actually make these pitches sound good. My crush! So it sounds like my crotch, but it's supposed to be my crotch, which is the same note. So it is sharp, which is correct, Melodyne. Good job.
My crotch!
So let's exit that mode. And now we're able to like work with the note.
My crush
So I'm hearing,
is my crush!
yeah. Sometimes you just kind of got to play it.
My crush!
So now we have the correct vocal, even though it's like super distorted.
This illness is my crush! Come undone!
So let's see. Now be careful because this EMPH emphasis, I guess, I don't know. If you just have it left in all the time and you start to do the little jiggle thing, it doesn't work the same. Like it will kind of force, like if you move it up to jiggle it or something like that, it'll say, hey, it's up here, Melodyne, and you might not actually be trying to do that. So I'm just saying, turn that off if you're not trying to use it on purpose, because you'll probably mess stuff up. So, oops.
I have come undone!
Okay, so what do we got here? Whoa.
Have come undone!
Okay, whoops. All right.
I have come undone! Come undone!
So that kind of goes flat in the middle. So I just separate the note there just so I can, instead of flattening it out, I'm just kind of correcting the chunks that are off instead of flattening the whole note like auto-tune or something.
Have come undone! This illness is my crush!
The word is crutch, not crush.
Am I worth a reassemble?
So this note is flat, I mean sharp.
Reassemble!
Anyway, so you can either try to get all the notes to detect, and sometimes you can just kind of do it by ear. But it's easier when you have a visual representation, because then when you go to the next track, you can see where the notes are supposed to be. If you have harmonies, you can see where it's supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera. So it is valuable to actually be able to make those notes show up and put them all in the right spot. Cool. That's really that. It would take me so long to go through all this, but hopefully, does everyone understand this concept? I don't think I need to actually go through everything. Any questions in the chat room about this concept?
Well, I think one of the main questions is, are there types of services within your digital audio workstation that you don't have to rely on Melodyne or these? I mean, are there any native ones that come in, or is this all basically manual editing if you want to get these kinds of effects? Or
no, you really have to go out to like Melodyne or something like that because of the features like the formant correction and the ease of use. There are like kind of ways you can do it with shifting the pitch, but you're completely messing up your vocals when you do that. So yeah, you kind of have to outsource it to Melodyne to get that stuff right.
Well, Mike O was wondering how Melodyne bridges in terms of CPU usage. I mean, how many instances do you have running at once?
Oh, it's great. I wonder where our system usage is. I mean, I don't really know how fast this computer is, but I have a whole session running here, with effects and stuff and Melodyne bridge. I mean, it's at 11%, so it's pretty quick. And what's awesome about Melodyne is, like, you can move it around and it's like super fast. Yeah. So like when you're playing back, the note is here. So if I'm playing back,
Am I worth a reassemble?
so if I want to move it up, like it's instant, which I absolutely love. It's just like working with MIDI.
Better.
Yeah, better. Oh, better. Some may argue. So yeah, maybe we can. fast forward through time. There we go. Cool, cool. All right, that's really tedious when you actually have to do tons of tracks like that, but at least you know how to do it now. All right, so next is screams. Everybody loves screaming when they're mad. Okay, so this is really similar to editing the other vocals because it is still vocals. However, most screams don't have pitch, but there's a really cool effect that you can make your scream sound bigger in Melodyne by using. Let's check it out. All right, so I want to use, just happened. Okay, that was weird. Just selected everything. All right, here are the screams. I could probably get this out of the way here.
My thoughts turn beneath the waves, a silent victim of the depths. Cast aside.
Since we're talking about Melodyne, let me actually just do that. I'm actually going to kind of skip, but this is super easy, cool effect. Some people do this thing where they pitch shift screams down. However, I say that you shouldn't do that. You should do this instead. What's he gonna do? I don't know. What's he gonna do? All right, I'm actually gonna move over here. So I'm just gonna actually use Jeremy's vocal for this reference. Okay.
Cast aside, I'm scrambling to get mine. I can't for my way out. It's no good to say.
Okay. Here we are in Melodyne. Here's our screams. They just look like this. But who cares? Just keep it in processed. This is the mode, processed, melodic, crisp, just like we've been doing with everything else. We're going to change the format. So what happens is, what's really weird is there's a natural way to change the format of your voice, if you guys know about this. Whenever you have a balloon full of helium and you inhale that doesn't change the pitch of your voice. You can't sing higher notes. You don't talk higher. The format of your voice has gone higher. And then there's some other chemical or gas, I don't remember what it is. I don't know if anybody knows. You can inhale it and your voice goes lower. I don't recommend that you do that because it's probably a hazard to your health. But that's a natural way, that's an example of format change versus pitch, because I know we were talking about it earlier. So this is a format change.
Cast aside, I'm scrambling to catch mine.
This is like extreme. I would never do it this extreme, but you can lower the format without lowering the actual pitch of it.
Cast aside, I'm scrambling to catch mine.
So like maybe somebody is singing, you want it to sound a little bit meaner, you just lower it by a little bit.
Cast aside, I'm scrambling to catch mine.
Yep.
Would you ever do that with multi-tracking? So when you're like layering up, like multiple different textures of screams, and then for like a really big sort of thing?
Yeah, because what's cool about doing this is because each person's voice has a different format, and when you change it like this, it will sound like a different person sometimes. So it does sound like a group or something like that. And that's a cool little trick that you can use instead of changing the pitch, which when you change the pitch, like if you lower it, for instance, you're shifting the entire frequency spectrum. You're not just changing the initial pitch of it, like all the high end is suddenly different and you can't EQ it or treat it the same. But if you lower the formant, you still have the same high end and stuff. It's just that the actual sound in this way is changed. So it's a cool, quick little tip instead of like pitch shifting vocals. I really I don't even do this, but if I have to, like I would rather shift the formant instead of the pitch. I just think it sounds a little more natural if you do it correctly. Okay, so anyway, I would never do that first, but I just wanted to demonstrate that since we're talking a lot about Melodyne and stuff. Keynote. All right, so this is the workflow of editing screams. It's really similar to editing singing. We just don't have Melodyne unless you're doing the format correction. So now you understand, not format correction, but format changes. So you understand what that means. So you're still cutting the silence. Take note of breaths, where you put them, where you keep them, or where you take them out. The nudging left and right. This will be a great example to show that. The fades and different types. You guys are familiar with that by now. You can group the tracks if you want, and then vocal line and listen, re-vocal line if you need to. Okay, so this is going to be a really good example. Okay, so we have a few edits here.
Beneath the web! Beneath the web!
Okay, good spots to do cuts and stuff are on like I would say at the very beginning of a word, at the very end of a word, or during a sound like an S or an SH. This looks like an S. I don't actually know what this is, but that's what it looks like. So that's where I'm going to put my. Yeah, it is an S. So that's where I'm going to put my splice. I mean, even without a crossfade. You can't hear that going over. And that's what you want. That's the easiest thing here. So everything looks pretty cool. Sometimes just to save time here. Whoops. Come on.
Andrew, which version of Melodyne are you using? Are you in the full like product suite, or are you on an easy version? Or do you know what levels there are?
This is Melodyne Studio bundle. Pretty sure it's the biggest one that you can get.
Okay.
So, yeah. For smaller guys, an alternative would just be to get the cheaper versions, because it still has the same sound, which is important, but it's like the workflows is what's different. So it's still as easy, but like getting your vocals in and out of it is just a little bit more difficult, and maybe working with complex arrangements may be a little more difficult. But that will still be the best sound. Like if you don't have the money but you have the time, you could spend $99 and get the cheaper version of Melodyne. Okay, so let's throw these fades in here. We got our shortcut. Oh, well, let's just do that. Oops. Come on. All right. So we got our fades in there. What length were those fades? Those fades are too long. So this is a cool tip here. So if you put in a bunch of fades and they're too long, I don't want these 100 milliseconds. So 50, just as long as you hit adjust existing fades. This is a Pro Tools specific shortcut. You can adjust the length of all the fades at once. So as you can see there, it just adjusted all those for me. So I didn't have to go back in and do all those.
I toss, turn beneath the waves, a silent victim of the attempts. Cast aside, I'm struggling to catch my.
Okay, cool. So all these sound pretty good. I may take this cut this little silence out here. Come on. All right. All right. So let's zoom in here for nudging. So we got this little guy. You can easily see is. Let's get rid of that. You can see this little guy is late. So our nudging is control. I'm pretty sure on a Mac. Yeah, plus or minus on the keypad. So you can just do a quick little bam, hit it one time, and it's on beat. Instead of trying to move it over, redo your crossfades, etc. If they come undone.
I toss, turn beneath the waves, a silent victim of the tips. Cast aside, I'm struggling to guess why.
Okay. Cool. All right, I just made a copy and just put it up there so we can have that just in case. Now I'm going to talk about a cool little thing for Vocaline, which is creating a template vocal, and the fastest way to actually do that. Don't need anything on here. Okay, so this is just an extra track. We'll make it pink. So what I like to do, this is going to be our guide track. This is where me and nudging become best friends. So I go to a spot, I can see that this is behind the beat. This is a consonant sound here, and then this is a vowel sound. So I'm going to do my nudging, just move that over. There we go. I don't have to readjust my edits. Move over here. This is a little bit ahead of the beat. That's probably fine. This is a little bit ahead of the beat, but I'm going to change it. B is a shortcut to cut the track. So all these little edits that I'm doing do not need crossfades. Oops. Sorry. When you get quick at nudging in the shortcuts, this goes a lot faster. So, all right, so we got all that stuff in that one little section where we want. So after that, go to Vocaline. We're already on guide, capture, and then our other actual vocal tracks that we're hearing, spot, spot.
I toss, turn beneath the waves, a silent victim of the tips.
So that is a template vocal. That's what that means. And you can also, if you have a bunch of different takes and some of the words are on beat, you can just actually drag it, well, instead of doing that, hold down Option, and you can drag it up and just put it in there as your guide. You don't have to crossfade all that stuff. So that's a cool little trick. Another awesome trick that I like to talk about is replacing So if something was off, if you do a bunch of tracks and something is off, sometimes I'll just fix the tiny section and then just re-vocaline it. So basically what I just did, if you still hear something off, you can re-vocaline. I do this all the time. I'll re-vocaline something that's been vocalined if it's off a little bit. Vocaline doesn't make anything really sound weird. It's like, that's why I like it. It sounds pretty natural with the changes and the edits. Sometimes it sounds better than even if I spent the time to try to edit it right. This will sound better than if I took the time, which is weird. So you would think it's the other way. So the shortcut is actually the better sound in this case, which is fine by me.
Andrew, I think I missed. excuse
Yeah,
me, when
yeah,
I think I missed when you dumped the plugin onto the tracks. Were you are you using Vocaline and Melodyne on the individual tracks, or are you using it on a bus? That's actually coming out as Beauty Sleeps in the chat room.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Now, in the way that Melodyne Bridge works is that is a plugin that goes on the track. But Vocaline, at least the way it works in Pro Tools, I don't use anything else, so I don't know how it would work in the other ones. It's in the audio suite section. So you just load it up. The way I have these organized are by manufacturer. So you just go to the manufacturer, Synchro Arts, select Vocaline, and it comes up. And that's how you use it. So whenever you select your audio track there, you just load it in by hitting this little button down here, capture. To get the one that you want to correct, you hit capture again, and then spot when you're done. That's it.
So in a lot of ways, the Vocaline is kind of a standalone product kind of in here, but your Melodyne is going to be actually dumped onto your track.
Melodyne is real time. Audio Suite is like, it is in the program, but it's like it's a hard edit, and it's kind of like it processes it.
Okay, so that's your destructive.
So it's a destructive, hard process.
Okay.
So, yeah, good question though. Yeah, if you don't see where that plugin is, it's right there. That's it. It's not on a track.
Cast aside! I'm struggling to catch my...
Okay. Now, here's another really cool tip whenever you're doing vocals. Let me just bring this. Now we're gonna edit Jeremy's vocals really quick. So whenever after this, and this really happened, I didn't really even realize it till after the fact. Whenever he did the beginning of this, the lyric is I. On one of them he said I. The other one he said why. So when you have those together, you can kind of hear it, and like no matter what you do in Melodyne or Vocaline, that will still come through. So how do you edit that out? I mean, you could just try to fade it out, but then it's really unnatural. But here's where it gets tricky. You find another I. So luckily he says I. You don't always get that lucky.
My thoughts turn beneath the waves, a silent victim of the depths. Cast aside, I'm scrambling.
So he said I right there. He said I'm, but all we need is the beginning sound of that word. Oops, come on. And what's cool is he also leads in with a breath, which is awesome. So just do a little crossfade.
My thoughts turn beneath the waves.
So no one will ever know that there was a problem there. You'll get that a lot. You'll get that a lot. And actually, something, if anybody remembers, there was a lyric in my chorus. Now, this kind of a thing happens a ton, where a vocalist will do a bunch of tracks and they'll say one word differently. The pronunciation will be different, or the word won't be as clear. Let's take this, for example. The lyric here, the word is crutch. Now, it sounds like I say crush. And the difference between crutch and crush, you can physically see it, is this little gap. So what I did, as you're probably going to guess, come on, is physically make a gap. Come on. And fade it in the correct spots. I can see that there's a little bit of the H sound there. So now instead of saying crush, it sounds like crutch. And it's clear as day. So there's, I wish there were a lot of weird errors like this that I could get into, but there are tons of workarounds to fix things like this. So you'll have two different vocalists sometimes. Maybe one is singing the lead and the other one is singing the harmonies, and the harmonies will have something that's pronounced differently. Sometimes I've literally tracked a sound of a word and just put it in for that person when I had absolutely no other option. So there's like just one little tiny thing where like I would try to sing like them and sound like them, and I would just put my voice in there. Like if it's some extreme case, just that tiny little thing, sometimes it's just the very end of the word or the beginning of the next word, you just need that to sound natural, and you can do that. You can replace those little things. That's how, that's kind of how Siri works. They take a bunch of sounds of the beginning of words and the end of words and the middle of words, and that's how they compile words for stuff like, you know, robotic voices and all that. Okay. Keynote. Okay, so yeah, you can do this with a variety of things. You can also replace the middle of words. If a screamer has a problem and they keep cracking on one spot, you can take the middle of another word with the same sound and replace that. So
Decide! Out!
Out, A. Where?
A!
Okay, A. We got two A's here, so.
Victim!
Where is it? Sorry, Jeremy, if you're watching. Where was the A? Okay, so there's an A. So if for whatever reason there was a problem with the middle of that word, in theory, this may or may not work. I don't know, but usually it does work pretty well. So there's the word today, and it still sounds, or whatever it's saying. So there's some magic for you when you're in a bind and a vocalist is just, he keeps hitting something over and over and over, and his voice is cracking and he's losing his voice, and it just keeps happening. You can literally replace. You don't even have to replace that big of a chunk. Sometimes it's just the crack is like a few milliseconds, and you can just replace those few milliseconds with something else to make that scream sound completely solid. So, yes. Is that, where are we? Okay, so we rearranged a few things. I hate to do this, but.
No worries. So we're coming up to our break.
What time is the break?
The break is in 10 minutes.
Okay. I actually don't remember if this was.
No worries. We could probably take some questions from the audience, actually.
Yeah.
Anyone in the studio audience have any burning questions for Andrew right now based on the last segment?
I'm using a little bit older Pro Tools, using 9 instead of 10 now. Do you know offhand if these plugins still function within that DAW, or?
Yeah, I actually use 9.
Okay. Yeah, it looked familiar, so I thought so.
Yeah. I get so scared upgrading stuff.
Yeah.
If you're a gear guy and you've had several setups, you know that sometimes an update is your worst enemy, even if it has awesome features. So yeah, I'm still in 9. I might update one day, but yeah, these still work in 9.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, let's take some questions and then we'll go to break.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
All right, Grant McDonald said, do you mainly use grid mode for editing or do you ever use a slip edit?
No, I usually am always in grid mode, and I'm faster with my shortcuts on a PC, and I always just hit, I don't even know offhand what it is. Here, it's Apple, but when you hit Apple, you're in slip mode, basically. So instead of going up here and clicking or finding a thing to switch and then switch back, it's literally one button. So I like being in grid mode, and then I just hold in Apple or whatever the button is on Windows. I have it, it's just a muscle memory. So yeah, that's a really quick shortcut to switch between slip and grid. Yeah.
All right, do you have any other questions, Tony?
I sure do,
Sweet.
Susan. Thank you very
Great,
much.
No problem.
One of the pieces that we haven't talked about in vocals is beatboxing. And N8 Psycho on the chat rooms has said, I've heard a couple of bands that have a member in the band beatbox, and is recording this similar to recording vocals?
No. It's more similar to recording drums, actually. I did a beatboxing part in Right Back at It Again, at the end of the bridge or something in a Day to Remember song. And the way that I mixed that and approached that was more like the way I approached drums. I wouldn't put the same compression and effect settings on that at all. It's more similar to the stuff that I use for drums. So, yeah.
Pretty interesting. I mean, do you, still with just one source input, right? I mean, you're talking about just one microphone, but you affect it like you would a drum set.
Yeah, well, I'll do separate layers like a drum set. Like a
Wow.
snare, a kick drum, and hi-hats and stuff. So, yeah, that's a whole different thing. But I could talk about that for a while.
Okay, I have a question from Suro1968. If you don't have an alternate take on your vocals, how bad is it to just double up what you have?
It's pointless. Yeah, it just makes it louder. You may as well just turn on the volume. It is pointless, completely. If you're looking for the best vocal, you just gotta do it right. I don't know. Doubling your vocal does nothing.
Well, I'm glad I asked then.
Yeah,
Now
so
you
a lot
guys
of people
all
do
know.
that. A
lot of people do that?
A lot of people do that, and it just sounds like a really bad effect. But if you actually do it like this, it sounds big and it sounds full.
Well, essentially
that's
just
the
doubling is a chorus effect, am I correct? I mean, is that
No,
what, I mean,
it's
even
literally
worse
like
than
a
that, right?
literally like a volume boost. I mean, if you want an effect on it, you can put chorus on it, but you literally put chorus on the same track.
Yeah.
Yeah, detune it or something. But even, yeah, then it's like the weird demon sound that I was talking about earlier.
Okay. Yeah, because I can imagine that you just phase or time align, or shift the one as opposed to the other to make it sound different. But ultimately, what you're doing is just creating a phase issue. Am I correct?
You're putting a delay on it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay.
So like any of the stuff that you could think of is what you could do with like a plugin on one vocal. So.
Wow.
Vocaline seems like a pretty big like production choice. Like it has a definite sound to it. Like it's super polished. Do you
Yeah.
find yourself not using it for certain productions that want to sound like a little bit more organic?
I use it. Well, if I'm doing like a large, if I want a large group to sound bigger, I would not use it, because when you do lock all those things in, it really makes it sound like one voice. So, like for instance, that's why I don't really use it on group vocals. I kind of just edit that by hand, just to make sure the beginning and endings are the same. Where people start and stop. But yeah, whenever it's a huge group, the bigger you want to sound, the more imperfections like kind of are on your side for that. So yeah, but I use it most of the time. I really like it. I don't know if it's spoiled me or what, but I'm like, man, it's just a click away. So I like it.
Well, one more from the internet here. I Came as Josh is wondering if you have ever used the Logic Pro Melodyne-ish feature. Says, I think a lot of us in the chat rooms would like to know.
No, but one of you guys use Logic? Do you know about that?
And there's a built-in feature that's similar to Melodyne. I mean, can you explain?
Yeah, I know about that. I've never used it.
Okay.
But we might have some info.
Actually, I mean, I have Logic, but the only thing close that I've used is like the built-in auto correction plugin. But it's super basic compared to what Melodyne has to offer.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's all the info I have on it.
Fair enough.
Nice answer there, Andrew. All right, well, so far we've covered basic editing, we've gone over basic tips about Melodyne, and then we've edited some screaming vocals. And next we're going to do the vocal EFX and the mix prep. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Andrew?
Yes. The vocal effects, we're going to go over some really awesome effects, some that you may or may not have heard of, and when to use them. And probably we may do a little more editing just because I do want to edit some group vocals and stuff like that for you guys, because that is a little bit different.
So we're going to be editing the angels that are in the room singing?
Yeah, we're going to edit that a little bit and get into a bunch of cool effects that I like.
Yeah, in case you guys missed these people, these lovely people over here singing yesterday. It was pretty awesome.
I did.
All right, well, we have a couple comments from online. King Shay Media Detroit Brendan, that's quite a name, says Andrew Wade is a vocal Mr. Miyagi. Nice. And Grozcore, our very own, says, this course is making it hard to concentrate on work. So much good stuff. Melodyne is a beast. You know, Grozcore works here at Creative Live, and you probably shouldn't be saying that in the chat room so that I announce that you're having a hard time working here at Creative Live. Very good.
Is he working on this?
Sorry to call you out there, Groz.
Well, that's
that?
good. It's just a sip.
Is he working on this?
No,
or?
he actually works here at Creative Live, and he's doing his own work,
But he's
watching
not,
this workshop.
Okay, he's not
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Now we're watching you.
Yeah.
Groz is supposed to be working.
Well, I mean, that kind of leads into essentially the why, you know, why we're doing this all here. It's amazing content that you can always, you know, really dig into, and everyone wants to be learning. You're constantly learning as a human being. But ultimately, being able to have that information that, you know, so close to you all the time, when we're talking about having anytime access to this course, that's really what we're able to provide. I mean, Andrew's here. He's going to be there forever. He's going to be your best buddy for a long time. I mean, the greatest thing, that little blue button down on the side of the window there where you're watching, and you might have to come out of full screen just in case. You'll be able to notice that there's a sale price going on during the course. Right now, as you're watching, you can get this course for a discounted price. And it's super, super easy. One of these things that, you know, you just have to consider, is this information that I'm going to want to refer to at another point? Is this so much that Andrew is providing us that I may have missed a skosh? One of those little moves, one of those keystrokes, those are kind of the reasons why, you know, you really want to have anytime access to this. And, you know, personally, I'm super glad I've been in here because I feel like I've been absorbing, you know, more.
I want to say this. I've gotten a lot of comments on Twitter and stuff just during this class. People that have gone to audio school said that they are learning so many things that they never learned in audio school just in this day and a half so far. So you're saving tens of thousands of dollars just by knowing this information, or, you know, just having this at your disposal. So that's what they're saying. They went through school. I actually didn't, but.
And even when you say the little things that people might miss, you might not even be able to find those little things anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, I mean, I also went to, you know, audio school, and I have been, you know, enjoying the information you've been putting across, and it's stuff that I definitely haven't learned. Everything changes. The technology changes so quick, and it's so valuable to have an immediate, you know, you're out there doing this stuff in real life, and, you know, I just really thank you for, you know, allowing us the access to your mind.
Cool.